Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream, Star, Fighting, Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by the hummingbird of the Marigold Standard. It is Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how the devil are you, good sir?
I wish I owned fancy pants that hummingbird comes to the ring with, but I'm great, brother. I'm doing terrific. I'm excited to talk about these two shows and the return, one of our favorite Joshi wrestlers in the last handful of years, coming back. We'll get into all sorts of goodness, but brother, exciting times coming up, not only for the Marigold Standard, but the Stardom cast. The fact that this time next week, myself, one Rob Goodwin, and our poor significant others will be attending a whole lot of wrestling shows in the City of Lights, one Las Vegas, Nevada. But brother, I'm doing well. How's things on your neck of the woods?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I don't think the enormity of what Kirsty is undertaking with the amount of shows that she is going to has truly sunk in yet. I'm really looking forward to her going to spring break. I think that's my peak. Because watching her face as Sabu and Joey Janela have a match with no ropes and it just being barbed wire might be one of the most entertaining things of the entire week for me. And she will just look at me and go, "Why do you like this?" And honestly, Matt, I'm not sure I'll have an answer for her. But that being said, that show will also have Bozilla and Megan Bain on it, hopefully. So that will be very, very good. And obviously, Masha Slamovich and Suzu Suzuki as well. So something for everyone.
Well, I am a salesman, my friend, so I cannot wait
You
for
are.
her ask. I cannot wait for her to ask you that question, and I can't wait for my answer. And I don't know what my answer will be at said time, but it will be an entertaining one. Maybe I don't know, but
Depends how many
no,
beers
man.
deep you are at the time, I suppose.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So no, man, I'm super excited for so many different reasons. But it's going to be a great time. And again, once we get off said plane, we will be rock and rolling right into All Star Grand Queendom. Obviously, with Stardom, or excuse me, Marigold is setting up for their big show coming up in May. Super excited for that. But yeah, a lot of great stuff on tap here. What a great time to be alive. It's easy to be positive when you have all this great stuff to look forward to. Like, what a life. Not only that, but if you click the link below, folks, you can get some fancy new shirts. Look at this. Look at this. We got Hazuki, we got Maika, we got an Utami one in there. We got me and Rob and bushes of marigolds. I mean, folks, what more can you want?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all of it is there at our merch store, talkjoshi-shop.fourthwall.com. See, it's just rolling off the tongue now, Matt, the more I say it.
Just click the link. Just click the link, folks. It costs nothing to look.
Exactly. Window shopping, we call it. No, as you mentioned, it's a really good time to be covering Joshi because Stardom's on a roll as it has been for the longest time. That Korakuen show from Marigold that we talked about was absolutely fantastic. And obviously they've come back and we've got two stellar matches, two matches I thoroughly enjoyed on this KBS Hall and Kobe show. Mariah and Nanae Takahashi having an unusual Passion Countdown match, but one that I thoroughly enjoyed, one that built really, really well. Obviously, we had this huge return at the end, which I don't think anyone truly expected to happen. Obviously, we're going to cover that very, very shortly as well. We've got some news regarding Bozilla and how her tour is unfortunately coming to an end. We're also going to talk the continued feud between Marigold and Marvelous and where that is going next. Then we're talking about KBS Hall. Then we're talking about Kobe. And then, of course, Marigold have got two shows coming up. The 12th of April in Shinkiba, including the Superfly Championship match between Victoria Yuzuki and Rhea Sato, which is going to be fantastic, Mr. Turner. And then, of course, the Passion Produce show, Nanae Takahashi's Produce show on Monday, the 14th. So lots of great stuff to come. And it feels like Marigold really is building steam ahead of that Shine Forever show in Yoyogi, which really does have the potential, especially if we do get Utami versus Mirai on that match alone, as I mentioned on the Korakuen Hall review. That's going to be a blockbuster match. It really, really is. And then whatever Nanae is doing for her retirement, whatever debuts we may or may not be getting from Marigold.
You didn't
We will
blink. That
see.
was scary. You didn't even blink. That was scary.
But speaking of debuts or returns, let's talk about some Marigold news. And obviously, the biggest thing coming out of Marigold for many, many people is the fact that Jungle Kiona is stepping into a Marigold ring. She's stepping into a ring full stop for the first time in over 2 years. Hasn't wrestled a match since the 14th of April 2023. After the culmination of Nanae Takahashi and Mirai's Passion Countdown match, Jungle Kiona, who had been in the crowd, came to the ring and basically said to Nanae Takahashi, I want a match with you. I want to see if I can reignite or if I can still go, basically. She said that she's had doctors tell her that there's nothing they can do now with her knees. She's basically got to do with what she's got. She wants an exhibition. She wants to see if she's going to be able to do it again. And basically, this match with Nanae, should she choose to accept, is almost a barometer of how she feels and if she's going to be able to go. Now, this in itself was a beautiful moment. Them embracing in the middle of the KBS Hall ring was such a beautiful, beautiful photograph. And it was then announced by the Marigold social media channels that Nanae and Jungle Kiona will be having a 5-minute exhibition bout at their Nagoya show. Of course, Jungle Kiona, a Nagoya native, on the 27th of April. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, it's only 5 minutes. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. The fact that we're getting Jungle Kiona in a ring where, let's be honest, horrific injuries that she's faced. Obviously, everything that happened with Hana Kimura, best friend, really, 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 it really affected her, obviously. And then, of course, she left Stardom after blowing out an ACL in one of her knees. She left, did a tour of the US independents, did a tour of a load of other independents as well when she finally recovered, and then blew out the ACL in her other knee. And then had to have double surgery on those knees. She, I believe, at one point she was a firefighter. So I am hoping that after this 5-minute bout, Jungle Kiona's like, do you know what? I can do it. And has a year's run in Marigold. I don't want it to do too much. I don't want it to get to a point where the woman can't walk. Okay, if she gets to the end of this 5-minute exhibition and she realizes she can't do it, I think this would be a lovely send-off. I really, really do. The fact that we're getting this at all is such a fantastic moment because I genuinely didn't think we'd get Jungle Kiona in the ring again. I thought this would be it. And it would be such a sad end to one of my favorite wrestlers' careers. One of the most effortless baby faces in terms of, I was going to say in terms of women's wrestling, but perhaps in wrestling full stop. She was so effortlessly sort of endearing to the fans. People just loved Jungle Kiona. And for her career to seemingly end in the way it did was a really, really, really sour note. So for her to get this second, maybe even third opportunity is such a pleasing moment. And I hope, beyond hope, whatever happens, from a very selfish point of view, I want to see her back in the ring because I love Jungle. But from whatever happens, I hope she's happy. And I hope she finds closure in whatever happens in this exhibition match.
Wouldn't it be the perfect Cinderella ending for her? She has this match. I was like, okay, I can go. You can put in some tag matches in the spring and the summer, and then we get some singles matches, and then maybe she wrestles the Dream Star. And maybe, Rob, wouldn't it be something for her to win the pure white belt, the belt that she chased so much in Stardom? Those great matches with Momo Watanabe, Arisa Shinki, so on and so forth. Just great matches. What a great way for her to be like, she was able to come back. She was able to gut out not one, but 2 double knee surgeries, and then is able to capture one of the prizes that she, obviously, it's not Stardom, but you know what I mean. She's able to get that singles championship that she was never able to get back in 2017, 2018, and 2019. I think that would be just an amazing story. Not only that, but what if it was like Misa Matsui is the one that held it? You know what I mean? It's an easy story to tell where you kind of have your young, cocky, arrogant heel as champion, and Jungle Kiona is the one to kind of shut her up. I think that would be a great story. It's all there for the taking, but the main thing is, can she be able to do it? You're absolutely right. The last thing we want is for her to push herself, and then all of a sudden, she can't walk, or she's going to be walking with a limp the rest of her life. Obviously, we don't want that. Jungle Kiona is an amazing person. I had the privilege of meeting her 3 years ago, back when she was doing the tours of the U.S. Independent. She had a great match with Janai Kai, and again, she was just so overly nice and just so sweet, not only to me but all the fans. And when I was leaving said show, everybody was out there selling their merchandise, and Jungle Kiona's line was twice as long as everybody else's on the show that had Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards, Brian Keith was on said show. So it made me really happy to see that, considering the fact that she hasn't wrestled in America in quite some time. So that really made me, happy to have the opportunity to meet her a couple years ago. Again, sweetheart of a person. The fact that we are getting this exhibition match with Nai Takahashi coming up here at the end of the month, it's going to be, you're absolutely right, a barometer whether she still can go. And you know that Nanai is going to take her, is going to watch out over her. She's going to make sure, she's going to make sure it's going to be a really good, hard-hitting 5 minute exhibition, but she is going to make sure that she's A-okay. Again, a great wrestler to put her in the ring with. And if this is something that does click,
just going to say that. No. You've taken the words out of my mouth there. I can't think of a better person for her to be in the ring with for this exhibition than Nanae.
Yeah, it's again super. That 27th of April, we got a lot going on that day, my man. This is going to be one of the highlights of said day. But again, because we're massive fans of Jungle Kiona, again, we hope it's not a one-off. But obviously, the main thing is that she is okay. But regardless, the fact that we're going to see her in a Marigold ring, a company that is run by Rossi Ogawa, who oversaw the majority of her career in the match with Nanai Takahashi, who did help create Stardom. Really great way to bookend your career. But maybe, Rob, maybe she's not done just yet. Maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel for one Jungle Kiona, but I couldn't be any happier for her and her fans, which obviously me and you are big, massive fans of one Jungle Kiona.
I think you're absolutely right. I think if it were a perfect world, she'd have this 5 minute. I mean, I thought the entire segment was really well done. Jungle Kiona sort of citing the fact that, Nanae carried on, her determination and stuff through, despite her battered body, I think was the translation that was used. And Jungle using that as an inspiration, to fight through despite the injury to her knees. It was a really well done thing, and it sort of really showcased Jungle's determination and her love of pro wrestling, that it just won't go away. I'd love it to come off where, basically, as you just said, winning that United National Championship. She doesn't even have to hold it for that long. I think it'd be amazing. However, of course, if this match happens and she's like, no, I can't walk for 4 days afterwards, I don't think it's worth it. At least she will know. It's better to know than to die wondering. And even if this 5 minutes is all she is capable of doing, I am over the moon for her. Because that's the thing for me. Like, I'm happy for her because she clearly loves pro wrestling. You see it on her Instagram. She's like, do I try it again? Do I try it again? You just assume it's a bit of a fairy tale. But to see her get this opportunity, fantastic. Really, 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 really exciting. So really happy to see Jungle Kiona in Nagoya, 27th of April, 5 minute exhibition match with Nanae Takahashi. And again, Matt hit the nail on the head. Can't think of a single person I would rather be in the ring with than Nanae.
Yeah, she'll take care of it.
Oh God, yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, on to a slightly unhappier topic. It's been announced that Bozilla is to return to Germany due to a family illness, and her last date with the company is April the 12th. We've sort of speculated on Bozilla before and said her tour must be coming to an end, but we assumed it would obviously be the end of May, and I wonder if that's probably when it was going to be. Unfortunately, because of a family illness, she is returning to Germany after the Shinkiba show on April 12th, which is a real shame because Bozilla has been a pivotal part of this early run of Marigold. She's managed to get over a considerable amount, considering she's a heel, considering she's only had 18 months experience as well. I think she's done magnificent things in a Marigold ring. She's had great matches, a match with Sari, her pair of matches with Sari, because the match at the Dream Star was really good as well. Her match with Utami, really, really good, creating the first faction in the Darkness Revolution, holding the Twin Star Championships. The most important thing, more than anything else, is that we wish Bozilla and her family all of the best, and hopefully they know that thoughts and prayers are with them during this difficult time. Obviously, we don't know any more details, and we certainly shan't be prying to any more details. We just hope that everyone in Bozilla's family is going to be okay, and that Bozilla is going to be okay as well. I know that she is currently scheduled to be on, as we mentioned earlier, spring break against Megan Bain, which is the Friday the 18th. No news on whether that is still happening or not. If it is still happening, fingers crossed that the family member that Bozilla has had to go home for is okay. But yeah, a really sad way for what has been a very, very successful tour to end, Matt.
Yeah, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Bozilla and her family at this time. You're absolutely right. As we're pretty much closing on the first full year of Marigold, one of the big backbones in this first year was we remembered forever. Remembered forever is Bozilla. You remember when they announced the main event at that first show? It was Sari and Bozilla versus Utami and Julie. And we're kind of like, we know who Sari is. We obviously know who Utami and Julie is. Who's this Bozilla? We thought that was really, really odd, and she stole the show. Got the most over on that show, and has just been an absolute wrecking ball in the best way possible in this year. So obviously we wish her nothing but the best. Again, thoughts and prayers with her and her family and what is probably a difficult time. And we are really excited to see where she's going to wind up in the future. My guess is going to be probably one of the two big wrestling companies, because somebody like Bozilla, with her size, strength, speed, her agility, her charisma, her crowd psychology, just how great she is in the ring, her look, that's somebody that does not go unnoticed. And, especially in a big TV company, whether you're wrestling on Netflix, the USA Network, TBS, or TNT, that's something that, the sponsors of those two big companies, AEW and WWE respectively, are going to want to get sooner than later. But my guess is that's probably where she's headed, one of the two big companies, probably sometime in the late spring.
Well, around the time that it was the rumors about Julia started happening, it was widely believed that Bozilla would be following suit, and those rumors sort of went quiet, obviously because Bozilla was contracted to be on a Marigold tour for a year. So again, it'll be interesting to see where she lands. Obviously, she deserves a really big opportunity, because I think she's done nothing but absolutely stellar work while she's been in Marigold, has been one of the pivotal players, as I've mentioned, has been someone who has gotten over really, really well with the Japanese crowd, despite not speaking Japanese. The Japanese fans have fallen in love with her. And yeah, we just wish her nothing but the best. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to her family. Moving on to the Marvelous versus Marigold feud. Obviously, we had an absolutely fantastic tag team match at Korakuen Hall with Sari Yamaoka and Nanae Tagashi successfully defending the Twin Star Championships against Takumi Iroha and Akatsuki. Akatsuki? No. Oh my God, what's her name? Senka, that's what I meant. Oh my God, it's been a long day. And Senka, who genuinely stole the show without a shadow of a doubt, came out of this looking absolutely tremendous. This has continued, though. It was announced, obviously, following the huge brawl that followed that, and the Marvelous roster saying, right, bring it to our ring next. Marigold did. And on today's show, as we record, which was in Shinjuku Face on the 10th of April, a show main evented by Takumi Iroha versus Meiko Satomura in singles action, we had a tag team match. The tag team match in question was, as I try and find my notes, Ai Hosen and Riko Kawabata against Victoria Yuzuki and Hummingbird. Now, initially, that was supposed to be Victoria Yuzuki and Minami Yuki, but Minami Yuki was withdrawn almost immediately and replaced with Hummingbird. There doesn't seem to be any information as to why that was, but she was replaced with Hummingbird. Anyway, that match has happened today. Marvelous have come out on top of that, and it has actually been announced after that on Marigold's April 25th Korakuen Hall show, there will be a 5-on-5 match, Marigold versus Marvelous. And it was actually Miko Aono who Rossi Ogawa has gone out and said lacks that leadership. He said it in an interview where he's talking about locker room leaders. And someone mentioned Miko Aono, and he did say, no, not really. And it was Miko Aono that has apparently sort of put forth this idea and led that charge in this Marvelous ring. So it's going to be interesting to see who Marvelous and Marigold put on their respective sides, because we already know it's not going to be Utami, it's not going to be Victoria Hazuki, it's not going to be Mariah, and it's not going to be Mai Sakurai, because they are already in a match on that day. We know it's not going to be Nanae, we know it's not going to be Sari Amoka, we know it's not going to be Misa Matsui, and we know it's not going to be Chiaki, because they're already in a Twin Star Championship match that's been announced on that day. Those two matches are official. So really, that 5-on-5 now becomes very interesting. Miko Aono has got to be in there because she's initiated it, and I love the fact that she is taking the initiative. She is taking the bull by the horns, and she's leading the charge. I think Chika Goto's got to be in it because she's been so ferociously passionate about this in particular. She was the first one to step up at Korakuen Hall and step in front of Nanae. I think he will probably get a Natsumi Shozuki, perhaps. You have still got to have other matches. You can't have 3 matches on a Korakuen Hall card. Maybe Manami Yuki makes it on that card. Maybe a Rhea Sato. It'll be interesting to see. And I'm really intrigued who Marvelous put on there because they've got their whole roster to put on that card. It's going to be very, very interesting. And another opportunity to see Senka as well, Matt.
Yeah, maybe Kazuna Tanaka on that team. I think that'd be a good shout. Is Victoria Yuzuki on any of those?
Victoria Yuzuki's teaming with Utami.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So that's a no-go. I mean, I think 2 obvious ones that we're missing, both on the Marigold side and the Marvelous side, is the Marigold Clown and the Marvelous Clown. I was waiting for you to get done drinking, but I could only dramatic pause for so long, buddy. I mean, I think that would be. Here's something too. I mean, and all joking aside, that maybe this is where you bring back the return of Nao Ishikawa. Nao Ishikawa is a fiery baby face. It's Korakuen Hall. We haven't seen Nao Ishikawa proper in quite some time. What this would be a great way to maybe reintroduce her. Maybe it's like we're going to have a mystery person, and who is it going to be? And then it's Nao Ishikawa comes out. I think that'd be great. I think the best possible thing for this, Rob, Takumi Roha versus Miko Aono. I think that's the yes. Takumi Roha is obviously leading the team. It looks like Miko Aono is leading the Marigold team. So my guess, and then maybe that leads to a singles match at the Passion Forever show. So a lot of interesting things could be coming out of that. I'm really excited for. I know I'm hoping Magenta. I'm hoping we get Magenta on said team. So we shall find out hopefully soon who the participants are. But I really like in this Marvelous versus Marigold feud. And the main reason why, Rob, it gives us an opportunity to see Takumi Roha, which we're all massive fans of.
Absolutely. Again, I love the fact that it's Miko Aono because we had that story of her not being able to get a win back following her loss to Mai Sakurai. And I like the fact that we are giving her this story, giving her, right, okay, I'm going to be the leader. We haven't got Nanae, we haven't got Utami, we haven't got MIRAI, we haven't got these people that we see as our locker room leaders. I'm going to take the reins. I'm going to take the initiative. And you know what? This could be what Chika Goto needs. It certainly could be what Kazuna Tanaka needs because, good grief, her run of results since she's come back has been dreadful.
Great matchup, though. Yeah, looking at the light.
She's an incredible wrestler.
She's the Matt Turner of Marigold, great wrestler that's always looking at the lights. No problem. Pay me.
The Matt Turner of Marigold. Wow.
Pin me, pay me. I hope she's getting paid because I did not make a lot of money abusing my body. But another story for another day.
Incredible.
No, it's not. It's sad.
But in all seriousness, I really like the fact that we're doing this. And again, it's not the first time, as I've mentioned before, that Rossi has booked an invasion feud. We saw it with Stardom and Sendai Girls. But I really like the fact that we are adding these things to the undercard of Marigold, because we've said before that Marigold's roster has been so thin because of injuries and things that, aside from the title matches, there isn't enough on the undercard to actually do anything with. And actually, Bozilla's now gone. You've still got Koki Amare out with injury. Momo Manami's still out with injury. You've still got
Naho Yamada is still
Naho
out with injury.
Yamada's still out with injury.
She
Going to be out
rocked
for a
this, dude.
long time. And obviously, you're missing your big hitters because they're in other matches. This is your chance now, with people returning from injury, to really, really elevate. Use this storyline to elevate your mid card, your Chika Gotos, your Miko Aonos, your Kazuna Tanakas. This is where you do it. And this is why this, aside from building intrigue, which is what Rossi Ogawa said he wanted to do with this feud, it helps to give these wrestlers that aren't in the title scene something to do, something to sink their teeth into, which, again, I think they've done a really good job with Miko Aono in particular. Moving on then, Matt, I think we should probably start looking at some shows. And we are going to start with Night 8 of the Spring Victory Tour, which took place on Saturday, the 5th of April, 2025, from KBS Hall in Kyoto. Now, a couple of things to note, first of all. The first thing is that someone has had a word with someone, and the hard cam now faces the stained glass window. So that's a great start. This show already had a thumbs up from me. However, Marigold did not announce the attendance for this show, interestingly. Now, this is the 5th time the company have run the venue, and their current average sits at 292. Now, the last time they ran the venue was the 12th of January, and they drew 285. Now, again, it's very difficult to see from where the hard cam is to give you an indication of what the attendance is. It looked very similar to the January show, but again, that's an eye test. You can't really base anything on that. I have checked multiple times throughout the last couple of days to see if either Cage Match or Shoe Pro has announced an attendance, but no, nothing as of yet. The results for that show are as follows. In the opening three-way match, Hummingbird defeated Riara and Nagisa Tachibana, with Hummingbird pinning Tachibana with the jackknife pin in 6 minutes and 12 seconds. In a tag team match, Natsumi Shozuki and Ria Sato defeated Kazuna Tanaka and Ryoko Sakimura, with Ria Sato utilizing that Asui suplex in 9 minutes and 41 seconds on the rookie. In a singles match, Seri Yamaoka defeated Minami Yuki, submitting her with the ankle lock in 6 minutes and 41 seconds. Tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki and Misa Matsui defeated Chika Goto and Miko Aono, with Misa Matsui utilizing, again, the European clutch in 13 minutes. In your singles match, your semi-main event, and the Passion Countdown match, Nanae Takahashi versus Mirai ended in a time limit draw, 15 minutes. And then in your main event, 8-woman tag team match, Utami Hayashishita, Mai Sakurai, Victoria Yuzuki, and Chan Yota defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Bozilla, Nagisa Nozaki, Megaton, and Gigaton, with Utami pinning Megaton after the hijack bomb in 16 minutes and 7 seconds. Matt, let's have a look at this card then. So the opening match, this three-way, I was interested to see how Nagisa Tachibana attacked this match. We saw her give a very, very, very good performance at Korakuen, which had been her first match in nearly 3 months, I believe. And I thought here, again, despite being on the losing end and despite eating the pin, I thought there was a lot of positives coming out of her. I'm very, very, very excited by Nagisa Tachibana.
Yeah, we may mention it last week with that return to Korakuen Hall at that great show. That's like, she's like foaming at the mouth to get back in the ring because she was great in that Korakuen Hall show. She was great here. I may mention all the time, three-way matches are tough to do, especially when you have like 3 different styles. but these three really made it work. Again, they went 6 minutes, so not a whole lot of time to go and tell their story, but at the same time, not a lot of time to kind of get miscommunicated or kind of be led astray. So I thought this match, the timing was perfect. You get some wrist lock exchanges to start, some really good 2 counts back and forth. Then Riyar just starts hitting all these different versions of running cutters, which I thought was really cool. That really seemed like that is her big move on her comeback. But you're absolutely right. Nagisa Tachibana was great here. She's got presence. She's got aura. She's somebody that is, again, only wrestling a handful of matches. But you would think that she's wrestling 2 or 3 years. But ultimately, though, was Hummingbird getting the jackknife pin, as you mentioned, partner, a little over 6 minutes. But this was a solid enough match. I gave it 3 stars.
We move on then to the tag match. Natsumi Shozuki and Ryo Saito coming out with the victory over Kazuna Tanaka and Ryoko Sakimura. We saw something of a confrontation between Shozuki and Ryoko Sakimura on the Kobe show, where Shozuki was not impressed with Sakimura eating another pinfall, and she ate the pinfall here from Ryo Saito. Another really good exhibition for Ryo Saito. After a little bit of a miscommunication with Sakimura, they managed to recover, though, which is the main thing, especially when you're a rookie. It's not necessarily about the mistakes that you make, it's how you recover from those mistakes. And I thought she recovered quite well, Matt.
Yeah, she's only going to get better with constant reps. And look who she's in the ring with. Obviously, Kazuna Tanaka, very young in her career. Ryo Saito, even though she's only been wrestling a little over a year, one of the most improved wrestlers in all of wrestling. And obviously, Natsumi Shozuki is somebody we absolutely love here on the Marigold Standard. One of our favorite wrestlers on this great roster. That is Dreamstar fighting Marigold. Natsumi, I thought was great here. Again, Ryoko, great. This, for me, was all about Ryo Saito and Kazuna Tanaka.
Mm-hmm.
And it really seems on these last few shows, especially since Kazuna's been back, they've been putting her and Ryo Saito in the ring quite a bit because they make great wrestling together. The submissions, the submission exchanges, the way that they're able to catch each other in certain holds, the striking exchanges, their stuff really works. Styles make fights, and their styles work really well together. I think Rossi knows that as far as an underneath mid-card match, singles match, he has something special with Kazuna Tanaka and Ryo Saito. And once he decides to pull the trigger on that, on a singles match between them two, like give him like 10, 12 minutes, I think we're going to see the future of Marigold right in front of our eyes. Really great stuff. Again, you're right. Ryoko Sakamura had some mistakes, but she was able to recover. That's what it's all about. Again, it's repetition. It's all something that she's going to constantly getting better with. And again, she's constantly getting better in these matches because she's in the ring with some great talents, especially across the ring from Natsumi Shozuki. But again, to me, this was all about Kazuna Tanaka and Ryo Saito. That is right up my alley with the submission exchanges. This was a solid match. Thoroughly enjoyed it. 3.5 stars.
Obviously, they're spotlighting Ryo Saito ahead of her Superfly Championship match with Victoria Hazuki, which is coming up on the 12th of April, so this Saturday, and that's going to be a really good match. I'm really excited for that. Wouldn't surprise me if Kazuna Tanaka is the next challenger. It really would not surprise me and it wouldn't surprise me if we see a more aggressive side of Kazuna Tanaka because, again, since she's come back from injury, she's eaten a lot of L's. And it wouldn't surprise me if the frustration gets to her a little bit, which I wouldn't necessarily hate to see. I don't want to join in the Darkness Revolution or anything, but to see an edgier type of Kazuna Tanaka, which, we've seen with Victoria Hazuki. Yes, she's a babyface, but there is an edge to Victoria Hazuki when she's wrestling. I wouldn't say no to seeing that with Kazuna Tanaka, and maybe this frustration is what bears fruit for her. I'd certainly like to see that anyway. Moving on, singles action. Sari Yamaoka against Minami Yuki. Matt, how do you think the rookies did together? Which is mad to say that because neither of them really feel like rookies, especially Sari Yamaoka. But how do you think they did?
Obviously, we know Sari has that amateur background. We can see that, just from her gear, the way she gets into the ring. Great amateur background. Minami Yuki, again, another one of these ever-improving wrestlers here in Marigold. We've seen a lot of her submission game over the past few months. It was, again, great. Again, very much like Ryo Saito and Kazuna Tanaka. This was right up my alley with the ground wrestling, the back and forth, the submission exchanges, the striking. Again, this was a match they just went out there, and it seems like, let's just go out there and let's have a great match. And here's the ending. That's the way it seemed like it was built up to me. It was kind of like, all right, you girls have 6 to 7 minutes. Here's what I want for a finish. Let's go out there and call the rest in the ring, because that's the way it seemed like it was, which is really difficult to do with two rookies, but everything melded really well. I thought Manami, I knew that Sari was getting the win here because she's the project. She's the super rookie. She's the one that's teaming with Nanae Takahashi. She's one half of the tag belts with said wrestler. So I figured Sari Yamaoka was going to get the win here, but Manami Yuki really, really showed how great she is and how great she is going to be. Again, excellent stuff. I like how Manami Yuki does that Russian leg sweep into almost like a version of the almost the triangle answer. Like it's almost like a banana split. We've been seeing that submission. And once she starts getting wins, I would like to see her get some submissions, some tap out wins with said hold, because it's done really well and where it's placed in the match makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, it's Sari Yamaoka getting the win with that leg lace style cloverleaf or the ankle lock. 3.5 stars. Again, another terrific match. This style of wrestling is right up my alley, partner.
Yeah, Manami Yuki, as we said multiple times when we've recorded the Marigold Standard in recent weeks, Manami Yuki's improvement is really, really, really beginning to bear fruit. Obviously, Sari Yamaoka is a very talented wrestler anyway, and her submissions and the way she gets into said submissions is always really entertaining to watch. I mean, we saw Manami Yuki pin Ryoko Sakimura with a back suplex, and it was really, really, really well done, and the height she gets with it, really impressive. So I'm excited to see this more and more over the next couple of weeks, because Manami Yuki is clearly someone that they've got highlighted as someone to peg for the future. Tag team action then. Darkness Revolution versus Miko Ano and Chika Goto. It is not by fluke that Chika Goto is eating these pinfalls. They are building something with Chika Goto. They are, as I mentioned, with the frustration of Kazuna Tanaka, they are building the frustration in Chika Goto because there's such a bottled up passion there. We saw it with the confrontation between Marigold and Marvelous at Korakuen Hall. Another loss on top of all these losses that she has been eating when she's been teaming alongside Natsumi Shozuki. They're building something there. They have to be building something there. What they're building, I don't know, but they are building something there, Matt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm excited for it. Even though she's eating these L's, she's having really great performances. We pretty much said this since the beginning of the year, since she's come back from injury. She's taken upon herself to raise her stock. And the fact she's doing it, looking at the lights, really just goes to show you, even though she's young in her career, what a special talent that she is. Obviously, Misa and Shiaki, they're up next for the tag belts, for the Twin Star Tag Team Championship. So you know that they're going to get the win here. But I thought Chika Goto was the MVP of this match. And again, Miko Ano, probably one of our favorite wrestlers on this roster. She was terrific. Her Miko Ano and the Misa Matsui stuff was great. Miko Ano and Chiaki, the hard hitting back and forth striking stuff was terrific. I thought everybody played their roles really well, but ultimately it's all about building up the Darkness Revolution Army ahead of their Twin Star Championship match coming up here in just a few weeks' time. But you're absolutely right. The side story is what's going on with Chika Goto. We've seen Chika Goto, she's been doing like this weird body slam as like a finisher or like a falsie, but looks like now she's finally decided to like put it together. She does like the Mitsuharu Misawa, like Emerald Frozen. So I was like, oh, that's what that's supposed to be. And I am all for that because that's a great move. And considering the fact she's one of the taller wrestlers on the roster, it's a longer fall on the way down and a really cool visual. Rob Goodwin, I know you're probably going to disagree with me because you're going to tell me you're going to say the next match was your favorite match of the show. This match was my favorite match of the show. I thought this was terrific. There's a good possibility, depending on how the rest of the matches of this week ends up, there's a good possibility on the hot new YouTube segment, Matt Turner's top 5 favorite women's / Joshi matches of the week. This could wind up on the list. This was terrific. I had it at 4.25 stars.
I was full of praise after Korakuen Hall about how well Misa Matsui and Chiaki have gelled as a tag team. And I was convinced that it was just going to be Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki as the tag team. That was sort of where they were. And actually, they play off each other really, really well because they're both conniving, underhanded heels. Chiaki plays a role fantastically and is a massively underrated part of this Marigold roster. And I say that now, I've said that multiple times now that she really has found her footing. Misa Matsui is a star in the making. Like there's no getting around that. I genuinely do believe that they will take the belts off Sari Yamaoka and Nanae Takahashi at the end of this month. Partly because Nanae is going to have to drop those belts at some point. And to be honest, why not to Misa Matsui and Chiaki? They're a good tag team. They're heels. They can win without damaging Seri or Nane. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of weeks Misa Matsui utilize that European clutch. And if you want to cheat, you can do, because Chiaki's really good at using the chair to cheat. So there's lots of different ways you can go about it without making either Seri Yamaoka or Nane look bad. But again, this is just another example of how well these two have melded as a team. Yeah, the next match is my favorite without a shadow of a doubt, but this was a very, very good, a very solid mid-card tag team match, which Marigold are putting on with increasing regularity, with the likes of Natsumi Shozuki, Miku Ano, Chika Goto holding these tag matches in the mid-card together, which is really, really exciting. You know, you're throwing Kazuna Tanaka into that, Ryo Saito into that as well, and even Minami Yuki, and they're building a solid roster, which is always what this initial year, 18 months was going to be for Marigold. You've got your stars. You now need to build that roster that can support those stars. Speaking of stars, Passion Countdown, Nanae and Mirai. This was not the match I thought we were going to get, Mr. Turner. We started with a lot of grappling, a lot of mat work, which I thought you'd be a fan of, if I'm perfectly honest. Whenever there's a lot of extended mat work, I'm always thinking Matt Turner's going to enjoy this. But it wasn't what I expected. I expected it to be more bombastic. And actually, I quite liked how it started with that careful, cagey one-upmanship and then built to the crescendo of these bombs being thrown. Because again, you don't want to beat Mirai, who is potentially your next red belt challenger. You also don't want to throw just random losses on Nanae either, because, and I know you're going to say Mirai should have won here, Matt. I know that's what you're going to say. I can read your mind. I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all, because when Nanae does eventually lose, and she is going to lose, I know she's going to lose. She's going to lose to someone. When she does eventually lose, it's going to be a massive moment. It's going to be a huge moment. I don't know who it's going to be. You know, maybe it's Ryoko Sakimura. I don't know.
Yes. Now how you matter.
Yeah. Oh, I wish. I hope she gets better soon. But when she does eventually lose, it's going to be a big moment, and that person's going to be made. I do personally think it should have been Victoria Yuzuki. I wish they left that match a bit longer. But that being said, I thought this was a really, really, really good, well-structured 15-minute time limit draw. And one, again, that I was pleasantly surprised wasn't just a 15-minute slugfest.
I knew this was going to go to a draw, because it just doesn't seem like Nanai's doing, I don't know, maybe we're waiting for the last moment to pull the trigger on the 1L. And again, I've been very vocal about that. She should be putting people over. That's neither here nor there. Again, phenomenal wrestler. I'm glad it's her in Jungle. You know, she's going to take care of Jungle and set match. I'm super excited for that. So I knew this was going to go to a draw, because again, Mariah is probably your challenger on your next big pay-per-view. So you're not going to defeat her. Again, Nanai, the over just yet. So it's like, I figured this would go to a draw. My one complaint is how the match finished. It finished with the Nanai rocker, and it looked like she was going to pin Mirai. I was like, now you're having your number one contender 1 second away of losing a month before the big match. If you're going to go time limit draw, have Mirai hit the lariat, and then she can't make the cover in time and ring the bell there. I wish it would have been a more visual Mirai on top for the time limit draw instead of Nanai. Regardless, partner, you're absolutely right. This match was right up my alley. Two phenomenal wrestlers. The grappling, the hard hitting, the back and forth between the two. Really great stuff. Kind of a 50-50 match. Again, I just wish maybe Mariah would have hit that lariat at the end, and then the time expired to make it look like Mariah just about had that there. But regardless, again, just terrific stuff between two fantastic world-class wrestlers. I had this at 4 stars.
Yeah, I think the match, the next night, the tag match that went to the draw, I think that was better structured towards the end, because it's Mirai that's getting the pinfall or the visual pin over Utami with the Mirror Shock, rather than Nane. I do agree with that. I do agree with you. And, you know, I know that you have been sort of vocal about how Nanae should be losing 2 members of the roster and making stars on her way out. I think, and I said this before to you, I think the more losses she eats, the more it dilutes those the people that she's putting over. And that's why I'm holding on to hope. Again, I'm holding on to hope. It might not happen. That one big loss she has is going to make that person, whether it's Sari Amoka, I don't know. It might be her as her final match, maybe. I don't know. But as a standalone match, this was really good without looking too much into it. Maybe it'll be Jungle. Maybe Jungle will beat her in 3 minutes.
There you go. Hey, I'm all for that. No, certain people we mentioned on the Stardom cast, and I'm not going to get on a Stardom tirade. Certain wrestlers at the top of the card just know how to lose to make money. That's all I'm going to say.
Moving on to the main event, then Utami, Mai Sakurai, Chan Yota, and Victoria Hazuki against the Darkness Revolution team, Bozilla, Nagisa Nozaki, Gigaton, and Megaton. You know what you are going to get with Gigaton and Megaton, who are rapidly becoming 2 of the most entertaining things on Marigold at the moment, which I didn't think I would see myself saying, but there we are. I'm so happy that Chan Yota is appearing on more of these shows, though. I really, really am, because the more she's appearing, the more she's acclimated to the style. She's got some really, really good chemistry with people on this roster, and her versus Nagisa Nozaki is something I want to see yesterday. Get that in a singles match, because that would be brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree. She's terrific, especially when she's on this babyface team opposite the big heel team of Darkness Revolution Armor. She seems to be able to gel with everybody. I like how this match starts out, because it's like, we need to double team Gigaton. That's what we need to do. That's what we have to do here to get the advantage. And then Bozilla is like, all right, I had enough. And her and Nagisa Nozaki, like, let's turn this into a brawl. Like, let's. So I like that. It's like you have your little shine in the beginning, and then you kind of have your badass heels. Like, let's just take this all over the building, because no other match had that on this card, which I thought was really cool, or just a really cool kin to all great 8 wrestlers. And then everybody in the crowd's kind of getting a little bit of a taste of this Marigold experience, because they're literally just beating the crap out of each other, going around the ring. Then Utami comes in, great teamwork to Nagisa Nozaki. We get some Nagisa Nozaki and Chan Yota stuff, which I totally agree, partner. I want that a singles match as soon as possible, because they had terrific chemistry. Kazuna Tanaka just is diving all over the place. Mai Sakurai takes it to Bozilla, which I thought was really interesting. I was like, ooh, if you remember, one of the most clever finishes of the Dreamstar last year is when Sakurai put the Paradise Lock on Bozilla while she was like on the entranceway, and she couldn't get out, and she won by count out. Like, that was really, really cool.
That was really good.
But you're absolutely right. You know what you're getting with Megaton. You know what you're getting with Gigaton. You get the comedy. It gets over. It makes sense. It's fun. And then you have your 2 hammers in Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki. So you got a little bit of everything in this match, in a great way to send the fans home happy, with Utami getting the pinfall over Megaton in the end. Again, a really fun match. You had a little bit of everything in there. You have a lot of your star power in said match, but you're ultimately what was a solid show, especially that MIRAI versus Nanae Takahashi match and the tag match before. You're sending the fans home happy, giving the baby faces a win over the heels, and seeing your 2 big champions raise the belts up at the end, respectively, with Mai Sakurai and Utami Hayashishita. Fun match, 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, it was a good end to the show. It really was. And I'm always a big fan of shows in KBS Hall, especially when they are facing the the stained glass window. That's possibly the biggest faux pas of Marigold's early run, certainly. We move on then to the 6th of April, which was the 9th night of the Spring Victory Series Tour, Sunday, the 6th of April, 2025. From Kobe Sambo Hall, the attendance 253 people. It's the first time Marigold have run the venue, with only Dragon Gate, who are based in Kobe, running it otherwise in 2025. The results are as follows: singles match, Megaton defeating Nagisa Tachibana. It's like London buses, apparently. You wait for one and then 2 appear at once. Winning with the most devastating move in pro wrestling, the Megaton Press, in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Singles match, Chica Goto defeating Riara with the reverse crab in 5 minutes and 42 seconds. A much needed win for Go Chica. Tag team action, Hummingbird and Minami Yuki defeated Natsumi Shozuki and Ryoko Sakimura. Minami Yuki pinning Sakimura with a backdrop in 7 minutes. Tag team action, the Darkness Revolution, Jackie and Misa Matsui defeating Kazuna Tanaka and Rhea Sato. Misa Matsui pinning Tanaka with the Ghetto Clutch in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Tag team match, the team of Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Hazuki and Mirai and Seri Yamaoka ended in a 15-minute time limit draw in what was easily the blowaway match of this card. And then in your main event, Mai Sakurai, Miku Ano, and Chan Yota defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Bozilla, Nagisa Nozaki, and Gigaton. Miku Ano pinning Gigaton with the Styles Clash in 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Matt, obviously, a ruthlessly destructive performance from Megaton. The Megaton press, again, proving to be one of the most destructive moves in pro wrestling. And I mean, let's not be around the bush. It's a streak.
Sure is, buddy. Yeah, it sure is. Again, they did the Megaton press, the splash from the first rope, which it makes sense because if you go to the top rope, you're climbing, it takes more time and it gives your opponent more time to recover. So again, Megaton, smartest person in the room, was like, I'm not going to give this fantastic rookie an opportunity to make her comeback. I'm going to hit the splash. There you go. There's your psychology, folks. You have a comedic wrestler versus a wrestler that's only had a handful of matches. You're going a little over. The Batmobile just left my driveway there. You're going a little over 5 minutes. You're telling a simple story. Get in, get out, make sure nobody gets hurt. You're getting your reps in, especially for Nagisa Tachibana, who just came back from injury and has looked absolutely fantastic. I gave this one the gentleman's 3 stars. But you're absolutely right, my friend. Megaton's starting to build herself back up. And I wonder, considering the fact that she's a freelancer, if we would do Fukian Death versus Megaton, who would you be, as a fan, who would you be pulling for?
I don't feel like you can ask me that question. I feel like that's asking me, like, who's my favorite child? I mean, everyone's got their favorite. They just don't want to say it out loud. It's like
you were your parents' favorite, right? Because I'm clearly my parents' favorite. It has to be you, right?
No. Oh Lord, no. Oh no. My brother is better than me in every facet of life, I believe.
You're a better podcaster than him.
Only because he hasn't tried it. Probably come out and do one and be like the world's best. And I'll be like, I hate you so much. Little story about my brother, by the way. So we both played soccer. For our American listeners, football for my British brethren, and I was a relatively good footballer. I got trials for Stoke City, which are a professional team.
Wow, I didn't know that. How about that?
Didn't go because my manager wouldn't let me. But it was still like it was like a badge of honor. Like, I got trials for a pro club. Now, my brother decided the very next week then to get trials for an even better team, for Manchester United. I was like, I can't have anything in this life, can I? Thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate it. So yes, he will one up me in every single thing that he can, and that seems to be our relationship.
Rob, I'll make you feel better. You're meeting Hazuki next week, so there you go.
I am. That is true. He's never met Hazuki. Doesn't even know what a Hazuki is.
How dare you?
Exactly. Who's he really? I can say all this because he has no interest in wrestling and is not watching this at all. Chika Goto and Riara. It felt like Chika Goto needed this win. I know I said that we are building something with Chika Goto, and I truly believe that we are. But just having her lose is, especially against someone who's just lost to Megaton, I feel like would be a detriment to her. So a win here, I think, does her good, allows her to blow off some steam, and also is a bit of a showcase as well in the just under 6 minutes that this match went, Matt.
Yeah, it was like a strong matchup. You had a big lockup to start, which I'm always a big fan of. You had some hard-hitting stuff back and forth. And then just majority of this match is Chika Goto really working over Riara's back and her knee, that the psychology makes sense to set her up for the half crab. Simple story to tell. Again, I thought Riara looked good here. Again, she's somebody that's coming along. You're absolutely right. This match was just about like giving Chika Goto like almost a dominant, not a squash, but pretty well dominant win, especially that last minute and a half, her breaking down Riara's back and the knee making sense for the half crab. Solid stuff. Good to see Chika Goto back on the win streak. 3.25 stars for me. That, to me, round that has to set up a Chikagoto versus Megaton singles match coming up, because now which streak is going to end? That's the idea, and that's the ticket drop.
I feel like that's your next red belt #1 contendership match. We've had Mirai versus Bozilla. It's Gochika and Megaton. Moving on to a tag team match, then Hummingbird Minami Yuki versus Natsumi Shozuki and Ryoko Sakimura finished off with, as I said, a picture-perfect backdrop from Minami Yuki on Ryoko Sakimura. Natsumi Shozuki not happy with the performance of the rookie. Matt, is she potentially being a little bit harsh?
Yes and no. I mean, you want to get the wins. You want to get the wins. But I like how on this show and the show we just talked about, Natsumi, who's somebody that's at the top of the card here, in my opinion, one of my favorite wrestlers in this company. She's working with the younger talent. She's had the glue that basically holds this together and is probably helping them out before, during, and after the match, which obviously these three fantastic wrestlers, and Ryoko, Hummingbird, and Minami Yuki, are only going to get better. Saw enough stuff. Again, not enough Natsumi Shozuki for me, but maybe that's just me. I like the Natsumi versus Hummingbird stuff because they're both explosive wrestlers. But I liked how we're getting Minami Yuki a win here. We're shining her up, we're building her up. And she's got a really great finish. That pump handle backdrop suplex, I think, is a really great way to credit her really good offense. 3.25 stars for me. This was a really fun match.
Moving on to another tag team match, Rhea Sato and Kazuna Tanaka versus the Darkness Revolution. Aside from a rather interesting uppercut from Chiaki, which don't exactly know what happened, a little bit of miscommunication maybe. I thought this was another good match, and we are really building up Misa Matsui with these flash pins. Won the match in KBS Hall with the European clutch, won the match here with the Gato clutch over Kazuna Tanaka. We are building falsies ahead of Korakuen Hall, aren't we? These are going to be your big false finishes ahead of the actual finishing stretch in Korakuen on the 25th.
You can't Kazuna Tanaka and Rhea Sato are, because we just talked about how great they were as opponents. They were great as a tag team here.
They were.
Obviously, my go-to team as far as Kazuna Tanaka is Celine Floor with Vittoria Yuzuki. But if they're going to do Vittoria Yuzuki and Utami from time to time, I'm fine with these two. Ultimately, you know what you're getting in this match. You're going to get a great, solid tag match that ultimately is going to continue to build the heel team up, the #1 contenders of Chiaka and Misa Matsui, which is exactly what they did. But Rhea Sato and Kazuna Tanaka really gave them a run for their money. Great technical wrestling, great tag wrestling, great shoot-style submissions between Rhea Sato and Kazuna Tanaka. Chiaki obviously plays her roles really well, does a great job, and is getting so much better at bending the rules, not in front of the referee, to get the clear advantage, to get heat on her and Misa Matsui for ultimately. And I liked how they had the Misa Matsui in the double armbar. Again, you're kind of cheating, bending the rules. Misa Matsui's playing this cocky, arrogant heel. And then you have Kazuna Tanaka and Rhea Sato take her down with a double armbar, and then great selling from Misa Matsui that got a nice pop from the crowd, because you're kind of like, the Nelson Muntz, they got you on that. But ultimately, is Misa Matsui with the ghetto clutch on Kazuna Tanaka. I thought this was a great match, right up my alley. Tag team wrestling at its finest. 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, it's been a good pair of shows for both Kazuna Tanaka, despite being on the losing side both times, and for the Darkness Revolution side of Chiaki and Misa Matsui, certainly. Now, this one, Utami and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Sariyama, obviously went to the time limit draw match. I am intrigued. What are the differences here between this match and the Nanae and Mirai match? Because my understanding is you preferred this match to the Mirai and Nanae match. Obviously, both went to a time limit draw. Both ended without, sort of in the middle of a pinfall as well. Why did you prefer this one to the Passion Countdown match?
Great question. Simple answer. Who's the champion and the ace of this company? Utami. Who's her more than likely next red belt challenger? Mirai. This is an opportunity for Utami to draw tickets for said match by putting doubt in people's minds and make it look like Mirai can defeat her. And we tell it, Utami is one of, if not the best wrestler on the planet when it comes to that, especially when she's in that main event scene. We saw her do it when she was champion over in Stardom, and she's doing it now. And Mirai's great. She's probably the second best wrestler in this company to Utami. And I know me and you were kind of on the same wavelength like that, but obviously it's subjective, and you can like what you like. And Utami makes Mirai look like a credible killer in this match. And so does Victoria Yuzuki. And Sarah Yamaoka is great here. Don't get me wrong. This match is all about building Mirai up to potentially take the belt off Utami Hayashishita. And Utami understands business. She understands that it's a time limit drop. That's the way it was booked. She understands that, okay, this is what they have booked for me. Time limit draw. I need to make sure that the team I'm in the ring with, that they look as strong as possible. And considering the fact that Mariah is my next dance partner for this championship, I need to make sure Mariah looks like an absolute dominant main eventer. And we knew she was going to do it. She absolutely did it in the best way possible because Utami is one of one. Don't get me wrong. Victoria Yuzuki was great here. Sarah Yamaoka was great here. Victoria Yuzuki and Utami, they're a great tag team. We see them in some great tag matches before. This is ultimately about building up Mirai, and that's exactly what they did. And Utami's phenomenal at it. 4 stars for me. This was my favorite match of this show. Again, with the way the finish was, with Mirai hitting the lariat and then the Mirror Mirai shock, the visual is you had your potential challenger almost pin your champion and your ace. And Utami knows how to do it without losing any steam. Again, what Utami did here was create interest, make Mariah look like a credible threat for that championship, and draw tickets for their potential match coming up, which is exactly what should have happened the show before. But folks, I digress. And if you agree or disagree with me, you know how to get a hold of me, folks. You know how to get a hold of me.
Moving on to the main event, then you had Mai Sakurai, Mika Ueno, and Chan Yota, who I would love to see as the stable to go up against the Darkness Revolution. I really do feel like this should be King's Journey, defeating Bozilla, Gigaton, and Nagisa Nozaki. Matt, as a main event, I thought this was good.
Yeah, again, very much like in the show before, Mai Sakurai really taking it to Bozilla, really showing that she's not afraid. Obviously she's the pure white belt champion, or as you call her, the unchampion.
Unchampion, indeed.
Excellent stuff there. Mika Ueno and Nagisa Nozaki in Cork and all, they had a great match when Mika Ueno was the pure white belt champion. Obviously, Gigaton here, she plays her role really well. She's a more aggressive Megaton because that may or may not be the fiery now Ishikawa. And again, we mentioned it at the show we just reviewed, Nagisa Nozaki and Chan Yota. Excellent, excellent chemistry between the two. Really, really solid, fun match. And once again, very much like the show we just reviewed, you're sending the fans home happy, giving your big babyface babyface team a win to send everybody home with Mika Ueno getting a win with a Styles Clash over Gigaton. Fun enough match that makes you want to see more matches with Chan Yota and Nagisa Nozaki, and you're making Mai Sakurai. I think that was Ace again. That cat's nuts. Ultimately, it is Mika Ueno getting the win. We got some extracurricular activity here going on, folks, in the Turner household. I had this one at 3 3/4 stars. Again, another great way to set another solid show to send the fans home happy with your babyface team getting the win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed both these shows, to be fair. Both flew by and both were really solid. 2 really, really, really good matches, and actually a real hidden gem. We spoke about that on the Stardom cast, but that hidden gem and that tag match on the first night, Chika Goto and Mika Ueno versus Chiaki and Misa Matsui, a real hidden gem. Definitely go and check that one out. Obviously, Mirai and Nanae Takahashi was a great match, and so was the tag match on the Kobe show. But yeah, certainly go and check out that tag match because that was very good and really did solidify that claim that Misa Matsui and Chiaki have for those tag team belts. Now, we have 2 shows coming up this week, and it starts on Saturday, the 12th of April in Shinkiba First Ring. Don't forget, this will be Bozilla's final match in Marigold. We open with a 3-way, Riara versus Ryoko Sakimura versus Nagisa Tachibana. Tag team match follows that. Chika Goto and Minami Yuki will be taking on Megaton and Gigaton. We've then got another tag team match, Utami Hayashishita and Kazuna Tanaka versus Mariah and Sarah Yamaoka. Yes, please. I will have that. We've then got the Superfly Championship match. Victoria Yuzuki defending that belt against Ria Sato. And then in your main event, we've got Natsumi Shozuki, Mika Ueno, Hummingbird, and the returning Arina Yamanaka against Bozilla, Nagisa Nozaki, Misa Matsui, and Chiaki. A good card, Matt.
Yeah, solid enough stuff should be really, really fun. And again, folks, we don't know when we're going to be able to record the next episode of the Marigold Standard, depending on the schedule when it drops on Wrestle Universe. And obviously, again, next week, myself and Rob will be away in Viva Las Vegas, hanging out with the Honky Tonk Man and Elvis. Hopefully at the same time, buddy. What a dream that would be.
Incredible. I mean, to be fair, I've gone through life thinking they're the same person.
Oh, they are. They are.
Oh yeah, sorry. How dare I? On the 14th, which is the Monday, we've also got Nanae Takahashi's Passion Produce, All's Well That Ends Well. That's going to be live on Wrestle Universe at Shinjuku Face. That card, 5 matches, is as follows: Zones versus Utami Hayashishita, Nanae Takahashi, Mirai and Yu versus Chihiro Hashimoto, Ryu Mizunami, and Rina Yamashita. Miyu Takase and Miku Ano versus Yumiko Hata and Miku Kanai. Hiroya Matsumoto versus Chika Goto. Keep an eye on that one. That could be really tasty. And then Momo, Nanae Takahashi, and Momo Nakanishi are going to be taking on Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki. That's another one that could be really, really quite entertaining. That and the Shinkiba show will both be live on Wrestle Universe. So a good weekend coming up for Marigold fans. Matt Turner, with us having gone through our 2 shows, with us having previewed the upcoming shows, gone through the news of today, including the return of Jungle Kiona, there's only one thing left to do, and that, my friend, is to take a little gaze at Julia.
Rob Goodwin, Jungle Kiona was not the only return on our TV screens this week, as obviously Julia's been banged up with a little bit of injury. We haven't seen her since she dropped the championship to the NXT championship to one Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer this past week on NXT was getting beat up by Jordan Grace and Jade Parker when Julia, the beautiful madness, sporting that fancy new blue hair, comes to the ring, cleans house, and then we think all's well ends well as these two friends are reunited. And Julia's like, absolutely not. Shoot headbutt, Northern Lights bomb, and basically says, I value championships more than friends. That sets up a 4-way at NXT Stand and Deliver with Jada Parker, Jordan Grace, Stephanie Vaquer, and Julia coming up at the WrestleMania Stand and Deliver. You can have that with your breakfast at 9:30 in the morning or whenever that show starts.
Bloody hell.
If we didn't have so much going on Saturday, we would probably go to that show, and myself and Rob would be drinking mimosas and Bloody Marys. But regardless.
Yeah, I don't fancy NXT at 9:30 in the morning, I'll be perfectly honest. That's something we can watch in the hotel, although we are literally next door to the T-Mobile Arena.
No, well, at that day, that's Saturday at 9:30, we will be in line to be meeting one EO. That was our autograph sessions at 9:30. So
I retract everything. I just said.
That's why I didn't get.
Be watching
That's
that
why I
in the
didn't
hotel.
get tickets.
It's an interesting one. I really do not understand. If Julia was only going to be out for less than a month, why take the championship off her?
Maybe they didn't know. You know what I mean? As a precautionary, you never know with certain injuries, buddy. You never know. They said it was her ankle or something. I mean, look, not to drag out this episode because I know it's late, but Momo Watanabe came back with that ankle injury, and then she threw a kick, and then she was out. So you never know. And again, WWE has phenomenal medical staff, so better to take her off and see when she's able to come back. And not only that, but she's in a 4-way, so you can kind of, if she's still injured, you know what I mean? That would be my guess. But at the end of the day, what do I know? I'm just a poor kid from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, with nothing but a small paycheck and a dream, buddy.
What a lovely way to end that episode. That was so nice. Ladies and gentlemen, on that bizarre Disney-like note, we've just ended the podcast on. We are going to end it there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for supporting us. We really do appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the podcast app of your choice. Leave us a comment and a 5-star review if you think that we've earned it. It really does help the podcast out. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, you can. Patreon.com/StardomCast, where you can listen to all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as a solitary $1 a month. You can also check out the website, talkjoshi.com, where we have got all of the news, reviews, previews, and all of that good stuff regarding Marigold and Stardom. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, apart from Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky. where we are at Talk Joshi. You can find me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matthew Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky, and the TikTok. If you want to get a hold of me via the email system, very simple. The email address simply is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together, everybody's different, everybody's special.